When it comes to raw power, technical evolution, and a story of resilience inside the octagon, Khalil Rountree Jr. is the name that defines absolute transformation. From being a volatile prospect to becoming a cold and calculating killer in the light heavyweight division. With 84% of his wins coming by KO, he has proven that his strike is not just power. It's lethal precision. Every fight is a statement. Every knockout a message to the division. Now, with 5 wins in his last 6 bouts, Rountree is not just a temporary threat. He's a phenomenon in its purest state, the force that the UFC has been shaping. It's time to rewind the tape and relive how Khalil Rountree Jr. turned pain into power, defeat into learning, and precision striking into his legacy. But before continuing, subscribe. Khalil Rountree Jr., born in Los Angeles, United States, has a story of a fighter who found himself through adversity. With a style based on kickboxing and devastating natural power, Rountree entered the UFC through The Ultimate Fighter. But his journey wasn't simple. He faced tough defeats and moments of doubt, but far from giving up, he used every fall as fuel. With the support of his team and a renewed mindset, he transformed his rage into control, his power into precision. Since his professional debut in 2016, Rountree has fought epic battles inside the octagon, accumulating spectacular knockouts and showing constant improvement. His rise has not been linear, but each fight has written a chapter in his legend. Now, with his eyes set on the top, Rountree is preparing to face the best, seeking to establish himself as the most feared light heavyweight in the UFC. His legacy is under construction, but his impact already echoes with every strike. On July 8, 2016, Khalil Rountree Jr. made his official UFC debut at The Ultimate Fighter. Team Joanna versus Team Claudia finale, facing Andrew Sanchez. Although he lost by unanimous decision after 3 rounds, he showed flashes of his power. Sanchez, a fighter with a solid collegiate wrestling background, implemented a clear strategy: avoid exchanges and take Rountree to the ground. Rountree managed to defend several takedown attempts in the first round, but the constant pressure and ground and pound attempts from Sanchez in the second round. Later rounds gave him the advantage.
Corey was working on that rear naked choke.
Despite the loss, Rountree demonstrated durability and a decent guard, making it clear that his journey was just beginning. On November 26, 2016, at UFC Fight Night, Whitaker versus Brunson, Rountree faced Tyson Pedro. Pedro, a dangerous Australian grappler, wasted no time. He pressured Rountree against the cage almost immediately. Rountree tried to maintain distance with front kicks, but Pedro closed the gap, secured a clean takedown, and quickly took Rountree's back. Although Rountree defended initially, Pedro adjusted, sank in the rear naked choke, and didn't release until Rountree was forced to tap at 4:07 of the first round. A harsh and fast lesson on the need for a complete game in elite MMA. But Khalil responded with fury. On February 4, 2017, at UFC Fight Night, Bermudez versus the Korean Zombie, he faced Daniel Jolly. The fight was as explosive as it was brief. Rountree came out with intensity, measuring Jolly with his jab. In an exchange near the cage, Jolly attempted a long punch, and Rountree, with an explosive reaction, ducked and landed a devastating left knee directly to Jolly's liver. The impact was immediate and paralyzing.
Boom, and he's out right there. That second one's to the chest.
Jolly doubled over in pain and dropped to the canvas. Rountree only needed one finishing blow
Massive knee from Rountree Jr.
before the referee stopped the fight just 52 seconds into the first round. Brutal KO. This was the flash of pure power that announced what was to come. On July 16, 2017, at UFC Fight Night, Nelson versus Ponzinibbio, he showcased his power again against Paul Craig. Craig, a submission specialist, tried to take the fight to the ground from the opening bell, dropping to the mat multiple times to invite Rountree into his guard. Rountree, showing early patience, refused to play along and carefully picked his shot standing. Finally, at 4:56 of the first round, he found the opening. Craig, tired of pulling guard, stood up and exposed himself to a powerful left cross from Rountree that landed clean on the jaw. followed by a right hand that sent him to the ground. Roundtree followed up with ground strikes until the referee stopped the fight. Victory by KO.
It's a nice body kick, though, but countered with a big right hook from Roundtree over the top.
Last few seconds.
Oh!
On December 30th, 2017 at UFC 219, he faced Michal Oleksiejczuk. It was a strange and frustrating fight for Roundtree. Oleksiejczuk showed solid defense and a great ability to absorb Roundtree's hardest shots. Roundtree landed several low kicks and left hooks that seemed to have little effect on the Pole, who kept pressing forward. After 3 rounds in which Roundtree seemed to lose his way, he lost by unanimous decision. However, the result was later overturned by the NSAC due to Oleksiejczuk testing positive for clenbuterol, showing that sometimes setbacks come from outside the octagon. On July 7, 2018 at UFC 226 came one of his most memorable knockouts against the dangerous kickboxer Gokhan Saki. Saki, a K1 legend with over 80 KO wins in kickboxing, was the favorite in a fight that promised to be a pure striking war. The tension was palpable. Saki came out aggressive, throwing low kicks and hand combinations. Roundtree stayed calm, slipping and blocking. In an exchange, Saki threw a right cross that Roundtree narrowly avoided, and in doing so, Saki lost his balance momentarily. Roundtree, with killer composure, capitalized on the opening and landed a brutal left hook behind Saki's ear. Saki staggered toward the cage and Roundtree didn't hesitate, unloading a flurry of about 10 unanswered strikes until referee Herb Dean stopped the fight at 1:36 of the first round.
Oh, he's got a big left hand, and that's it. He looks hurt, guys.
Technical KO, a victory that echoed throughout the division and gave him his most resounding win to that date. On November 17, 2018 at UFC Fight Night, Magny vs. Ponzinibbio, he faced a future contender, Johnny Walker. At that time, Walker was relatively unknown, but his flamboyance and power were already evident. The fight lasted less than 2 minutes. Walker, with his absurdly long reach, kept Roundtree at bay with front kicks. Roundtree tried to close the distance, but as he did, Walker launched a flying elbow from an impossible angle that landed cleanly on Roundtree's temple. The impact was instant and Roundtree dropped unconscious. Walker finished with ground strikes at 1:57 of the first round. A harsh and spectacular defeat that showed there was still work to be done in defense and focus. On April 13, 2019 at UFC 236, he showed his evolution against Eric Anders. This fight was a mental turning point. Anders, a former football player with heavy hands, was a dangerous opponent. Instead of hunting for a quick KO, Roundtree showed patience and a tactical game never seen before. He used a steady jab and leg kicks to keep Anders at a distance, avoiding his explosive charges. He survived some tough moments in the second round where Anders landed solid shots, but Roundtree stayed composed and stuck to his plan. After 3 hard-fought rounds, Roundtree earned the unanimous decision victory, 30-26, 30-26, 30-26, 30-26, proving that he could go beyond 1 round, win on points, and control the pace of a fight. On September 28, 2019, at UFC Fight Night, Hermansson vs. Cannonier, he faced Ion Cutelaba. Cutelaba was known for his overwhelming first-round intensity. As expected, Cutelaba charged like a bull, storming Roundtree with a barrage of wild strikes and takedowns. Roundtree tried to counter, but Cutelaba's pressure was too much. He took Roundtree down, controlled him against the cage, and from side control began unloading a series of unanswered elbows to the side of Roundtree's head. Referee Mark Goddard stopped the fight at 2:35 of the first round. Another stoppage defeat that sent him back to the drawing board to reconsider his approach. But the true transformation of Khalil Roundtree Jr. would begin in 2021, after a change in mindset, more dedicated training in Thailand, and a focus on mental well-being. He returned with a renewed hunger for victory. On September 4, 2021 at UFC Fight Night, Brunson vs. Till, he faced Modestas Bukauskas. Roundtree looked leaner, faster, and much more technical. The first round was a feeling-out process, with Roundtree using a precise jab and body kicks. At 2:30 of the second round, with Bukauskas backing up, Roundtree launched a perfectly timed left high kick. The leg landed cleanly on the side of Bukauskas' head, who immediately collapsed. His legs crossed in a clear sign of an instant blackout. Roundtree didn't even need to follow up. Head kick KO. A spectacular victory that marked the return of the new and improved Roundtree. On January 23, 2021, at UFC 257, he had fallen by unanimous decision to Marcin Prachnio. It was a slow fight where Roundtree struggled to find his rhythm and Prachnio managed to land more significant strikes at range. But that would be the last time he lost on points for years. On March 12, 2022 at UFC Fight Night, Santos vs. Ankalaev, he faced Carl Roberson. Roundtree showed an abyssal technical improvement. He dominated the first round with devastating low kicks that literally left Roberson's left leg a deep purple color and stripped away all his mobility. At the start of the second round, Roberson was visibly limping. Roundtree trapped him, feinted with a jab, and then connected with a crushing right cross that smashed Roberson's jaw. He went down, and one more strike on the ground sealed the deal just 25 seconds into the second round. Technical KO, demonstrating precision and game plan execution that he hadn't shown before. On October 29, 2022 at UFC Fight Night, Qatar vs. Allen, he went to war in a technical battle against Dustin Jacoby. Jacoby was an established kickboxer and the favorite in the fight. It was a high-level striking duel over 3 rounds. Roundtree focused on damaging Jacoby's leg with low kicks, while Jacoby landed sharp counter shots. It was an extremely close fight, with both having shining moments. In the end, the judges saw Roundtree as inflicting the more significant and consistent damage, giving him the split decision victory, a crucial win against a tough opponent that earned him a spot in the top 15. On August 12, 2023 at UFC Fight Night, Luque vs. Dos Anjos, he faced the dangerous Chris Daukaus. Daukaus, a former heavyweight with knockout power, wanted a war. Roundtree was patient. He waited for Daukaus to launch a combination, elegantly moved out of range, and when Daukaus was exposed, Roundtree's counter left hook slipped through the guard and connected on the temple. Daukaus staggered, and Roundtree, with impressive composure, didn't rush in recklessly. He followed, evaded another desperate strike, and landed a perfect right cross that sent Daukaus flat on his back. The fight was stopped at 2:40 of the first round.
Right for Roundtree again, nearly got big left.
KO victory. Another demonstration that his power, now combined with timing and precision, was unstoppable. On December 9, 2023 at UFC Fight Night, Song vs. Gutierrez came one of the most important victories of his career. Against veteran and former title challenger Anthony Smith. Smith was the favorite, a crafty fighter with more than 50 fights. The first 2 rounds were tense and tactical. Smith tried to bring the fight into his world, but Roundtree stayed patient. In the third round, he found the opening. A perfect left cross slipped through Smith's guard, leaving him reeling. Roundtree, hungry, pounced with a flurry of ground strikes that forced the referee's intervention. KO at 0:56 of the third round. He didn't just win, he dominated and finished a former title contender. This victory screamed to the world that Khalil Roundtree Jr. was here to stay among the elite. On October 5, 2024, came the golden opportunity, UFC 307, for the World Championship against the fearsome Alex Poatan Pereira. Pereira, a leg and fist-destroying assassin with an aura of invincibility, was the toughest opponent Roundtree had ever faced. The fight was a spectacle of pure power. Roundtree wasn't intimidated. In fact, he marched forward, trading shots with the champion in a display of courage that electrified the crowd. For 3 rounds, the world held its breath as 2 of the hardest hitters on the planet traded bombs. Roundtree even landed several strikes that made the Brazilian stagger. But in the 4th round, Pereira's power prevailed. A left hook landed on Roundtree's jaw, sending him to the canvas. KO loss at 4:32 of the 4th round.
For Roundtree again, nearly got big left.
Although he didn't capture the gold, Roundtree gained something perhaps more valuable: the absolute respect of the fans and the UFC. He had stood toe-to-toe with the most dangerous champion and dragged him into deep waters. Far from being crushed by the defeat, Roundtree reinvented himself once again. His next test was against none other than former champion Jamahal Hill on June 21, 2025, at UFC Fight Night, Hill vs. Roundtree Jr. Hill, returning from injury, sought to reclaim his place at the top at Roundtree's expense. The predictions were split: Hill's power or Roundtree's improved technique. What followed was a masterclass of boxing and strategy from Khalil. Over 5 rounds, he used exceptional mobility and a punishing jab to keep Hill at bay, frustrating his advances and countering with precision. It wasn't the explosive fight fans had come to expect, but a demonstration of maturity and growth as a complete fighter. At the end of 25 minutes, there were no doubts. The judges awarded a unanimous decision victory to Khalil Roundtree Jr. This win not only put him back on the winning track, but proved that he was no longer just a puncher. He was a complete mixed martial artist, ready for another chance at the top. Khalil Roundtree Jr. has emerged as one of the most inspiring stories of resilience in MMA. From his early ups and downs to his current position as an elite contender, he has shown impressive evolution, combining devastating power with ever-growing fight IQ. Now he will have to face the powerful Jiri Prochazka on October 4, 2025, where he must prove that he is skilled enough to continue in the UFC. Tell us what you think in the comments. Can Khalil defeat this tough opponent? Subscribe so you don't miss more epic fights, and give us a like to support our content.